Hey sippers, it's your girl Kim, the CEO and founder of NOLA Event Planners and the creator of Sip Happens with Kim. I've helped countless couples overcome their worst wedding fears and anxieties as it relates to wedding planning. Well, before we can determine what your wedding budget should be, we first must determine how much of your budget will be spent on what. If you are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications so you can get weekly helpful tips. Before we get into this video, make sure that you pour your favorite drink, sip, and get these wedding tips. So, many couples ask, how much do I need to put aside for my wedding? So if you watch other videos, we talk about all the expectations and things to do before you start planning your wedding. So this video is going to talk more about how much to allocate in which area of your budget. And this is why it's very important to understand how to allocate your budget before you start spending, before you start signing contracts, because most people will go over budget because they did not place money in the right areas of their budget. So for instance, you may say, oh, I love that venue, I'm going to go ahead and book it. That's not a bad price. But you don't consider the other things like how much is transportation going to cost, florals and rentals. Did I allocate enough in this area? And now you're over budget and having to add more money or delete things out of your overall planning. Before you start creating a budget, you must understand how much to allocate for which area. Some items are going to require more of your budget than others. Make sure you're allocating to the right areas so that you do not go over budget and you can manage your expectations and still have your dream wedding. So number one is 40% of your budget. And what's that 40%? That is your reception. The reception will take the bulk of your budget, and here's why. Because that's where all the fun is. That's where you're having the food. That's where the alcohol is. Now, can that budget shift? Absolutely. If you don't want to have alcohol, or you don't want the highest tier of alcohol, meaning you don't want top shelf, and you're okay with call brands or whatever, that is going to determine how much of that 40%. But you're still going to spend the bulk of your budget on your reception. And that includes the rental of the facility, the food and beverage minimum that is required, and also one major item that most couples forget about, and that is the production cost, which basically is the labor, the people who set up the space, who clean up, who serve the food, the bartenders, the servers, all of that is included under your reception cost. So the bulk of your budget is going to be 40% on the reception cost. Next, there is decor and rentals and florals. All of that's included under decor. That is 30% of your budget. Many clients will say, well, why do I have to spend 30%? You don't. If you feel like that is not an area where you want to spend the next highest part of your budget, then you definitely want to go to a venue that is all inclusive. You have to think of it like a hotel. So you have a B&B where you may have to do your own cooking and laundry versus a hotel all-inclusive resort where everything is included. So that's how you have to look at a wedding venue. And if you subscribe to this channel, we discuss the differences in wedding venues and the costs that you need to be aware of before you sign those contracts. So a wedding, the decor and rentals is about 30% because it costs, baby, it costs the floss. So if you're bringing in florals, dance floors, lighting, linens, all those bells and whistles, candles, all of that costs money. And again, the one item people always forget about, that is production costs. That's the labor of the people who have to create these items, load them up, break them down, pack them back up, and bring them back to where they belong. So your florals and decor are going to be 30% because we all know, honey, that we want a beautiful wedding. So rest assured, you're going to spend about 30%. Next item is your photography and video. That's about 10% of your budget. Now you're saying, why does photography and video 10%? Well, photography and video is 10% because you don't want to slight yourself on your videos and pictures. I'm saying that slowly. Those are areas where you cannot recreate or get those moments back. Now, here is why it's 10% also. You want to make sure that you book your photographer and video for enough allocated time. And here's why. Because the photographer and the video will be the ones with you most of the day besides your planner. They will be with you most of the day. So if you're having prep pictures, meaning you're getting dressed and all the beautiful pictures of makeup and hair and the wedding party, and then you have the wedding, and then you have the reception. Well, you have to make sure that you're allocating at least 8 hours to 10 hours of coverage. I've had clients to try to save in this area and say, well, I'm just going to reduce it to 4 hours. Well, that may cover your ceremony and part of your reception. So 10% is important. I would not suggest letting your friends take your pictures or your family take your pictures or putting cameras on the table. That was a thing a while ago, but I feel like that's an important moment and you should have the best. Now, you don't have to have a Hollywood photographer and a Hollywood videographer. The more popular, the more experienced, you may pay more for the photographer and videographer. But again, those are memories. Some of the people in your videos and photos will have gone on and you will miss those memories or you've lost touch with them. So it's very important that you capture those memories and you get good photography with good lighting, good cameras, so that when you get your pictures back, you're not unhappy and dissatisfied. Don't short yourself with your photographer and video. Move the budget somewhere else. But you don't have to have the most expensive, but you don't want to DIY your photography and your video. It is very important to capture those moments, and it's very important that you also have enough time allocated to capture the entire day. Very important. That's why it's 10% of your budget. Next, there's music and entertainment. Now, here's an area that will vary. If you're a DJ type of couple, really simple. It may be a couple of $100 to a couple of thousand. Again, the most successful, the most popular DJs will cost a little bit more. So if you want someone who's well known, you're gonna pay a little bit more. Versus a band or a local DJ may cost you a little bit less. But keep in mind, bands are more than DJs. I've had couples say, why does a band cost so much? First of all, a band is usually 6 to 8 people and they have to split the cost. So you have to be fair. You're paying for multiple people to perform, bring in the equipment, set it up, walk out the door with it, and you want them to entertain your guests and interact. So you pay for what you get. Because remember, a wedding should touch all the senses, so it should sound good and have everybody having a good time. So 5% is very reasonable and conservative. Again, DJs, more popular, they cost more. A band versus a DJ, you're probably gonna pay a little bit more. So really think about that and make sure that you're picking the best for your entertainment that is within your budget so you can have a good time. Don't let your friends and family. Now, if you're really a DIY bride, music lists are great. Some venues offer where you can plug into their sound system and play your own playlist, so you may not need a DJ. But that's an area where you can kind of budget up and down as according to where you need to stay within budget. Next, there's ceremony costs. Now, if you're at a venue where you're getting married and you're having your reception, you can save money because you don't have to decorate 2 spaces. You can repurpose things from your wedding ceremony into the reception space. You just may have to pay an additional hour or 30 minutes at the venue for that space, or you may have to rent chairs if they can't be repurposed for the reception. So your ceremony is going to be about 5%. And that will vary. If you're going to a church versus if you're doing everything in one location, that can vary, but you want to allocate at least 5%. Next is stationery. Now, stationery, people have been very creative since the pandemic. Some are doing digital invites. They have websites where you can go and RSVP and have all the wedding information there. I'm not opposed to either way, but I still love a beautiful invitation. However, if my budget doesn't allow for that, then I will say, let's not spend as much in this area. Don't hate me, stationery companies. But what I'm saying is there are a lot of creative things out there. You don't always have to have a custom invitation. There are a lot of companies out there now that offer very affordable invitations and you don't have to spend a lot. So stationery, 5% or less. Next, there's dress and attire. Now, honey, 5% is very reasonable of your budget to have dress and attire. Now, some people will say, I have to have a custom dress. So when you get into customizations on any parts of this budget, you're going to spend a little bit more. So if you want a custom wedding dress, you're going to spend more, but you can allocate 5%. Most brides spend between $1,200 to $2,500 for their wedding dress. Hey, I believe in compromising in some areas, but the one area I don't believe in compromising for a bride is your hair and makeup, your dress, and your photography. And here's why. You can never recapture those moments. Now, do I think you need to pay as much as a house or a car for a dress? Absolutely not. However, if your budget allows it, honey, go ahead and wear it, okay? But your budget for your dress is going to run you about 5%. Now, the one item that I did not include in this cost is your event planner. And here's why. I wanted to give you the total budget if you were a DIY bride or if you're consulting with a wedding planner. So wedding planners' prices will vary based on the services. Most wedding planners will offer a tiered service. Some are full-on event planning, meaning they do everything. Some are partial, meaning you've done some of the work and you're hiring them to come on board to help you with some other things toward the middle or end of the wedding. And then there's the day of coordinator who is just there with you, who starts maybe the month of or the week of the wedding, and you've planned everything and they come on site to plan that. So that price varies, but in most cases, some planners are a flat fee rate or a tiered rate, or they charge percentage of the total cost of the wedding. So I did not include that in the total cost, but that is an additional line item. So I always tell couples to budget for miscellaneous. So you want to set aside additional money for incidentals, tips, and gratuities, and if you bring any consultants on board. So a wedding planner is very important if you want one, and if you watch previous videos, I always encourage you to at least consult with the wedding planner because it's worth the investment. It's better to understand beforehand than to pay more later. You know what I mean? Kind of like when you're like, oh, I'm going to do this myself because it's cheaper, and then you wind up spending more money because you had to buy all that stuff, all the time and labor it went into doing, and you could have just enjoyed your wedding day and not been involved in all the logistics and planning and putting out fires. Because let me tell you, honey, there is not a wedding that doesn't go on without some little behind the scenes drama or problem that the wedding planner has to solve. So make sure you consult with the planner. So that's your total budget of what a wedding costs. So make sure you know how much of your budget needs to be allocated and spent in certain areas so you don't go over budget. Don't be venue rich and now you have no money to do anything else. Don't be photography rich and now there's no money in the budget to do anything else. Don't be dress rich and now there's no money to do anything else. So make sure you're allocating the right amount of funds in each area and managing your expectations so that you can stay in budget. Now watch our other videos where we give those helpful tips so you know what to do before you say I do. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and turn on those notification bells so you can get more weekly wedding tips. And again, if you want to book a consult with me, Kim, go ahead to our website at NOLAeventplanners.com and book a consult today. And make sure to sign up for our newsletter so you can be the first to know of any giveaways, helpful wedding tips, any downloadables, and free advice that we have available. So see you again next time. Make sure to pour your favorite drink, sip, and get these wedding tips.
Subscribe, follow, like, save, and share with us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. See you next time, sippers.